In the headlines, tensions continue to flare in the Caribbean. Venezuela deploys 5,000 Russian-made missiles as President Maduro warns Washington against threats to Venezuela's sovereignty. U.S. President Donald Trump says reports of B-1 bombers near Venezuela are false, but vows a tougher campaign against cartels he labels terrorists. The White House doubles down as U.S.-Venezuela tensions hit a new high. Sanctions showdown. Russian President Vladimir Putin responds by brushing off new U.S. and EU sanctions as manageable. The details later on. Justice for Eduardo. In Peru, youth movements condemn police impunity after the killing of activist Eduardo Ruiz Sainz during protests in Lima. CZ pardoned by Trump. Binance founder Changpeng Zhao receives pardon 2 years after pleading guilty to money laundering. Trust issue. In the Philippines, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. admits public trust is a key challenge for him. In Maguindanao del Norte, the Philippine Army's 6th Infantry Division marks its 38th year by paying tribute to veterans. And from local officials to quake survivors, gratitude is pouring in for SMNI Foundation Inc. in Davao Oriental. The earthquake relief efforts have brought sacks of rice, buckets filled with relief goods, gallons of drinking water, and hope to families in need. I'm Jayne Codnita. Newsline World starts now. President Nicolas Maduro announced on Wednesday that Venezuela has deployed 5,000 Russian-made Igla-S anti-aircraft missiles across its territory to bolster national defense amid growing tensions with the United States. This report. Maduro said the portable Igla-S systems, similar to the American Stinger, are positioned at key air defense posts nationwide. He described them as one of the most powerful weapons and claimed they guarantee peace and stability across Venezuela.
Cualquier fuerza militar del mundo sabe el poder de los Iglas. Y Venezuela tiene nada más y nada menos que 5,000 Iglas en los puestos claves de la defensa antiaérea para garantizar ¿qué? La paz, la estabilidad, la tranquilidad de nuestro pueblo.
The Venezuelan leader said thousands of operators are trained and deployed throughout the country to ensure accurate targeting from the last mountain to the last city. Maduro's remarks came shortly after U.S. President Donald Trump announced preparations for attacks against drug traffickers operating on land. The Igla-S missiles acquired from Russia between 2005 and 2008 under former President Hugo Chavez have a range of 6 kilometers and can hit drones, helicopters, and low-flying aircraft. Venezuela's stockpile is among the largest in Latin America. Defense Minister Vladimir Padrino Lopez followed up on Thursday, warning that any CIA operation against the country will fail. He said the Bolivarian National Armed Forces, or FANB, and the Venezuelan people share responsibility for defending the homeland against what he called a gross military threat in the Caribbean.
Por aquí no pasará ningún intento de desestabilización de la nación venezolana. Podrán meter no sé cuántos cuerpos adscritos a la CIA en operaciones encubiertas desde cualquier flanco de la nación y cualquier intento fracasará, como han fracasado hasta ahora.
Padrino said the FANB were mobilized across 8 states as part of Independence Plan 200, a large-scale defense exercise aimed at countering external threats and preserving Venezuela's sovereignty. The Venezuelan government maintains that its missile deployment and military drills are defensive measures to deter any foreign intervention, while Washington continues to accuse Caracas of harboring drug trafficking operations. Tensions in the Western Hemisphere are rising. President Trump denied reports that U.S. B-1 bombers were sent near Venezuela, but the administration made clear it is stepping up offensive action against drug trafficking networks. Jomel Santos has the latest on this.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Mr. President, thank you. Good to see you. If I could just ask both of you, including Secretary Hegseth, there's reporting the U.S. just sent B-1 bombers near Venezuela to ramp up some military pressure there. Is that accurate? And can you tell us more about that mission?
No, it's not accurate. No, it's false. But we're not happy with Venezuela for a lot of reasons, drugs being one of them, but also they've been sending their prisoners into our country for years under the Biden administration. Not anymore. We have a closed border.
President Trump used the briefing to condemn drug networks and governments he says enable them, singling out cartel activity in Mexico and Colombia. He also said the U.S. will act decisively to stop drugs and those who send them.
Colombia is a drug den. Mexico is run by the cartels, and we have to defend ourselves from that.
Secretary of War Pete Hegseth said the U.S. has taken full control of its southern border and is now moving on the offensive.
We're standing alongside the Border Patrol, and we've locked that border down, 100% control of the southwest border. You stop the invasion. And then we're proud to be going on the offense. Counter-cartel operations. And it's not counter-cartel, as was mentioned. These are designated terrorist organizations, foreign terrorist organizations. They intimidate, they terrorize, they extort, they poison the American people. So our message to these foreign terrorist organizations is we will treat you like we have treated Al-Qaeda. We will find you, we will map your networks, we will hunt you down, and we will kill you. We're going to defeat and destroy these terrorist organizations to defend the homeland on behalf of the American people.
Hegseth said the U.S. is targeting maritime drug routes in the Caribbean and Pacific, comparing the cartel's threat to that of ISIS and Al-Qaeda.
Every boat we strike is 25,000 Americans whose lives are saved because of the drugs that were headed in our direction.
When asked whether the administration is seeking regime change in Caracas, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt declined to confirm that and instead stressed the administration's declared goal, stopping international drug trafficking into the United States.
This administration is not going to tolerate international narco-terrorist organizations from trafficking drugs into the United States.
Venezuela has strongly denied U.S. accusations in recent days and called U.S. actions provocative. With both sides trading accusations, officials in Washington say they will brief Congress on their plans. But at home and abroad, critics warn escalation could further destabilize the region. Reporting for Newsline World, Jomel Santos, SMNI News.
The White House is facing backlash over the new $300 million ballroom project inside the presidential residence, as questions grow about funding transparency, legality, and timing amid a federal government shutdown. This report from Sara Santos.
At Thursday's briefing in Washington, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt defended the privately funded ballroom expansion, saying the project will not use taxpayers' money.
We have released the full list of donors thus far. Perhaps there will be more people who want to generously contribute to this project. And the president, yes, has committed his own resources, and the president has been incredibly transparent. I would reject any notion otherwise.
Reporters pressed Leavitt on whether the president can proceed with construction without oversight and if the legal basis allows the demolition of White House structures. Leavitt cited an existing legal opinion from the National Capital Planning Commission, or NCPC, which she said has guided similar projects for decades.
It's not the president who came up with that legal opinion himself. That's a legal opinion that's been held by the NCPC for many years.
Amid the ballroom controversy, Leavitt also issued a warning about potential travel disruptions over Thanksgiving as the federal shutdown drags on.
If the Democrats continue to keep the government closed, we fear there will be significant flight delays, disruptions, and cancellations in major airports across the country this holiday season.
The White House continues to urge Democrats to pass a budget resolution blaming them for the stalled talks that have left thousands of federal employees without pay. Levitt maintains that the ballroom project will be a magnificent addition to the White House grounds, privately funded by the president and donors, while critics argue the timing and lack of full disclosure raise more questions than confidence. Reporting Sarah Santos, SMNI News.
The Philippine Department of Justice is set to begin the preliminary investigation against several individuals implicated in the flood control scandal, aiming to complete the hearings within just 1 month. Here's a report from Margot Gonzalez.
State witness.
This November, the Department of Justice or DOJ prosecutors will begin the preliminary investigation into the flood control scandal after being deputized by the Office of the Ombudsman. According to DOJ spokesperson Attorney Polo Martinez, they will first issue subpoenas to the respondents whose names he chose not to disclose. The preliminary investigation will focus on 5 ghost projects, which he also did not make public to avoid preempting the procedures. The agency is also aiming to complete the hearings within just 1 month before filing the case in court.
So we're working within a month period. Yan ang pinakamabilis, no? 1 month period for us to conduct TI and then conclude it. I cannot guarantee na matatapos in 1 month, but we are endeavoring, tinatrabaho po namin na magawa na mabilis na 1 month.
The preliminary investigation is also based on the complaints filed with the National Bureau of Investigation or the DOJ. The agency has also created a task force regarding the anomaly, which they call the Public Works and Bid Rigging Task Force.
So we will assess the evidence. Susuriin po namin ang ebidensya. We will see if there is enough grounds to proceed to trial.
Meanwhile, the DOJ clarified that no elective officials have been issued a freeze order yet, and only 6 personnel from the DPWH have so far received such an order. The request of the Anti-Money Laundering Council or AMLA for the government officials implicated in the anomaly is still pending.
Bakit po kaya wala pa?
Well, kasi
freeze order against them?
Yes, ma'am. So, proseso po kasi ito eh. Diba, first, the NBI refers the cases to the AMLC or the Anti-Money Laundering Council. It is the Anti-Money Laundering Council which will file the applications for freeze order with the Court of Appeals. The AMLC will do this through the OSG or yung Office of the Solicitor General as the principal legal defender of the Republic. Ngayon, syempre, the AMLC itself will have to conduct investigations. Ang AMLC po kailangan po mag-imbestiga muna, makita may grounds for the application of freeze order, ilalahad ang grounds and ang mga basis doon sa application nila, ipipresenta sa Court of Appeals. Ang Court of Appeals magsasabi, okay, there is merit, we can issue the freeze order. Either that or they will not.
It will be recalled that the AMLA earlier stated that the accounts of former DPWH officials and contractors have been issued freeze orders. According to AMLA Executive Director Matthew David, they have frozen bank accounts amounting to 5.2 billion pesos. For God and beloved Philippines, this has been Margot Gonzalez, SMNI News.
Up next, trust issue. In the Philippines, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. admits public trust is a key challenge for him. And in Maguindanao del Norte, the Philippine Army's 6th Infantry Division marks its 38th year by paying tribute to veterans. More news when Newsline World returns.
How to receive God's favor. So, for us, in order to receive the favor of God, we must avoid a holier-than-thou attitude. Importante sa harap ng ating Panginoon na tayo ay may kababaan ng loob na huwag nating tingnan at mapagmataas tayo sa ating mga sarili. Isaiah chapter 57 verse 15. For thus saith the high and lofty one that inhabiteth eternity, whose name is holy. I dwell in the high and holy place, with him also that is of a contrite and humble spirit, to revive the spirit of the humble and to revive the heart of the contrite ones. Bilang mga anak ng Diyos na tunay, upang tayo ay kasihan ng kanyang pabor, kailangan tayo ay hindi lamang mapagpakumbaba, kundi tayo ay mapagpatawad. If you want to seek the favor of God, be forgiving in your heart, so that when you pray and lift up holy hands to heaven, the Lord of heaven will also forgive your trespasses. May pabor ka na sa Diyos pagka ikaw ay dumadalangin na pinatawad mo ang kasalanan ng iba. In order to receive the favor of God, we must be humble. We must be forgiving. And we should not judge. And then, if you want to have favor with God, you must love God and obey God's words at all times. Ang aklat na ito ng kautusan ay huwag mahihiwalay sa iyong bibig, kundi iyong pagbubulayan araw at gabi upang iyong masunod na gawin ang ayon sa lahat ng nakasulat dito, sapagkat kung magkagayoy, iyong pagiginhawain ang iyong lakad, at kung magkagayoy, magtatamo ka ng mabuting kawakasan. Magkakaroon ka ng pabor sa harap ng ating Panginoon. Mahalin ang kanyang mga banal na salita, ipamuhay ang kanyang banal na salita, sundin ang kanyang banal na salita. Huwag hiwalay ang kanyang banal na salita sa ating bibig araw at gabi. Pagbubulayan natin yan araw at gabi. Bago kayo magtrabaho sa umaga, pagkagising ninyo, kumuha muna kayo ng mga salita ng Diyos. Magbasa kayo, mag-devotional kayo. Basahin ang salita ng Diyos. Mahalin ang salita ng Diyos. Huwag ilagay ang Biblia at patungan ng anumang klaseng libro. Kailangan yan ay nasa ibabaw ng lahat ng libro.
U.S. President Donald Trump confirmed that he will meet Chinese President Xi Jinping next week in South Korea, a high-stakes encounter as tensions between Washington and Beijing continue to mount over trade, tariffs, and fentanyl. This report from Val de Vinagracia. Speaking at the White House, President Trump said the United States will raise tariffs on Chinese goods to a record 157% starting November 1st unless a new deal is reached. He said the meeting with President Xi will focus primarily on curbing the flow of fentanyl, a deadly synthetic opioid that U.S. authorities say has been linked to Chinese suppliers.
But the first question I'm going to be asking him about is fentanyl. And if you think about it, they make $100 million. Think of this. They make $100 million selling fentanyl into our country. $100 million. They lose $100 billion with the 20% tariff. So I think they want to do something.
Trump emphasized that while the trade penalties are hitting China hard, he's hopeful both sides can reach common ground, saying he believes Beijing wants to cooperate on fentanyl control and economic issues. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt confirmed the details of the president's Asia trip. Trump is set to visit Malaysia, Japan, and finally South Korea for the 2025 APEC summit before heading back to Washington on the 1st of November. The U.S. and China have been locked in a trade dispute for years, imposing tariffs and sanctions on each other's exports. Trump says he remains optimistic about striking a new deal, but analysts warn that negotiations could be tough as both sides seek to protect their strategic interests. The Trump-Xi meeting next week will mark the first face-to-face talks between the two leaders since the latest wave of tariffs, and could set the tone for the next phase of U.S.-China relations. For now, both sides appear ready to talk, but whether that leads to progress remains to be seen. Reporting for Newsline World, this is Val de Vinagracia, SMNI News. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. acknowledged that one of the challenges his administration faces is regaining the public's trust in the government. He made a statement during the celebration of the 124th anniversary of the Philippine Coast Guard, where he also emphasized the government's continued support for strengthening the agency. This report from Casilin Catarong.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. admitted that these are difficult times as many have lost their trust in the government. However, he believes that this trust can be restored if government agencies remain transparent and honest in fulfilling their duties.
I know that these are difficult times that we live in. Our people's trust in government has been shaken. We cannot deny that.
During the celebration of the 124th founding anniversary of the Philippine Coast Guard held at the port area in Manila on Thursday, Marcos Jr. paid tribute to the PCG as one of the government agencies that restored his faith in the dedication of public servants.
The PCG is one of the government agencies that restores my faith in the dedication of the workers in government. When I see the PCG in action, I see what the best of government can look like. That is discipline, with integrity, with excellence, working as one.
Marcos urged all government agencies to continue their dedication in order to regain the people's trust amid the challenges the country is facing. At the same time, President Marcos Jr. announced that the government will continue investing in new ships, aircraft, equipment, and logistics for the PCG as part of its commitment to strengthen the agency's capabilities. He assured that the government's full support remains with the PCG, which has consistently demonstrated dedication and courage in protecting the Filipino people, especially during times of calamity.
Whenever our people see you during rescue missions or in your day-to-day patrols, what they see is that the government is still working diligently and is worthy of their trust.
The chief executive also announced the government's plan to build facilities to ensure that the welfare of PCG personnel remains a top priority, whether at sea or on land. These facilities include the PCG General Hospital, the Maritime Law Enforcement Training Center in Misibis, and the First Responder and Nursing Service Facility. Reporting for Newsline World, this has been Casilin Catarong, SMNI News.
The 6th Infantry Division of the Philippine Army honored nearly 200 veterans in Maguindanao del Norte in celebration of the division's 38th anniversary. More on this story from Almar Forzuelo.
In celebration of the 30th anniversary of the 6th Infantry Division of the Philippine Army, the division honored the heroism of veteran soldiers and extended services to the community. The anniversary carried the theme, 6ID at 38, Sharp Purpose, Steadfast Service, and Forged in Peace. As part of the celebration, the 6ID held the Campilans Gift of Gratitude at the Camp Sionco Gymnasium, where nearly 200 veterans and their families were personally recognized for their sacrifices and dedicated service to the nation. The veterans and their families received free medical and dental services, consultations, and medicines from the Camp Sionco Station Hospital, the 1336 Dental Detachment, and various partner agencies. Major General Donald Gumiran, commander of the Western Mindanao Command, 6ID and Joint Task Force Central, expressed his gratitude to the veterans for laying the foundation of peace that continues to be upheld by the Campilan Division. In line with this, the 6ID also conducted a community outreach program at Awang Elementary School in collaboration with various government agencies and private sector partners. More than 350 students and around 100 parents benefited from the event, receiving free health and dental services, school supplies, food packs, and rice. Indigenous peoples from Sitio Lomboy and Sitio Nabilan also attended the activity, which aimed to deliver essential services and strengthen the relationship between the military and the community. The soldiers also sought to assist underprivileged indigenous families living in areas surrounding Camp Sionco. According to Major General Gumiran, the outreach program reflects the Army's continuing mission to serve the nation beyond the call of duty. For God and my beloved Philippines, Almar Forzuelo, SMNI News.
Several lawmakers are now being considered as persons of interest by Ombudsman Boying Rimulya, who said he will request that they be included in the freeze order of the Anti-Money Laundering Council over alleged irregular flood control projects in La Union. Meanwhile, the Department of Public Works and Highways has filed multiple charges against 2 contractors and several agency officials in La Union and Davao Occidental for ghost and substandard projects. Sheena Turner reports.
DPWH Secretary Vince Dizon and ICA Chairperson and former Supreme Court Justice Andres Reyes Jr. arrived at the office of the Ombudsman. This was to formally file graft and malversation charges against 12 officials of the DPWH 2nd District Engineering Office in La Union and 8 in Davao Occidental over ghost and substandard flood control projects. In addition, the DPWH also filed complaints against 2 contractors, including representatives of Silver Wolves Construction Corporation, which was awarded nearly 180 million pesos in contracts in La Union. Also involved were representatives of St. Timothy Construction Corporation, which received 96.5 million pesos in contracts in Davao Occidental.
So the Davao Occidental project was bid out in 2021. It was awarded in 2022, supposed to be completed in 2022, but obviously, according to testimony, it was never completed. And the construction that was started there was started only last August.
Ombudsman Jesus Crispin Remulla said that no fact-finding investigation will take place and that a preliminary investigation will proceed instead, since it was the DPWH itself that filed the case. The accused will simply be held accountable and will submit their counter affidavits. According to information obtained by Dizon from Baguio City Mayor Benjamin Magalong, the beneficial owners of Silver Wolves Construction Corporation are siblings Benguet Lone District Representative Eric Yap and AXIS Party List Representative Edvic Yap.
Eric and Edvic Yap, meron na kami nakuha transmittal ng pera from the AMLAC papunta kay Edvic Yap. So nakita namin may pattern talaga na meron talaga silang kinalaman sa mga kontrata kasi yung transmittal ng pera galing sa Diskaya. Yung nakita namin. 70 million yan.
Aside from the Yap brothers, Bulacan 6th District Representative Salvador Plato is also being considered a person of interest in the anomalous project. Because of this, Remulla said he will request the Anti-Money Laundering Council or AMLAC to issue a freeze order on the assets of the 3 lawmakers.
Kasama sila sa pagkilos ng kontrata. Sila'y nakikialam at nakikiisa sa pagkilos ng kontrata. Bakit magbibigay ang kontratista ng 70 million papunta sa isang tao kung hindi dahil sa kontrata?
Remulla further stated that several individuals involved in the anomaly are currently awaiting the issuance of a freeze order. For God and for my beloved Philippines, this has been Sheena Torno, SMNI News.
Coming up, sanctions showdown. Russian President Vladimir Putin responds by brushing off new U.S. and EU sanctions as manageable. The details later on. And CZ pardoned by Trump. Binance founder Changpeng Zhao receives pardon 2 years after pleading guilty to money laundering. Stay tuned for more news.
Children will grow up and bring the joy, the love, the peace, and compassion to the whole world. We only have one planet. We only have one Earth. And I hope that this new generation of children that we have reached out will become millions and billions and bring peace on earth, bring peace to humanity.
Madalas ka bang napapasobra sa pag-scroll sa phone mo kahit puro masasamang balita ang nakikita mo? Isipin mo ito. Nakahiga ka na sa kama, nagche-check lang ng phone bago matulog. Tapos, hindi mo na malayan, ilang oras ka na palang nagbabasa at nanonood ng mga balita tungkol sa digmaan, sakuna, politika at lahat ng masasamang nangyayari sa mundo. Nakakaramdam ka na ng kaba at pagod. Pero tuloy mo pa rin ang scroll mo. Ang tawag dyan ay doom scrolling. Ito ang habit ng paulit-ulit na pagtingin sa mga negatibo o nakakadepress na content tulad ng digmaan, krimen o problema sa mundo. Nakaka-stress pero hindi mo pa rin mapigilan. Ayon sa isang pag-aaral ng Texas Tech University, ang sobrang konsumo ng masasamang balita ay nauugnay sa pagtaas ng stress, anxiety at pisikal na sintomas gaya ng pagkapagod at sakit ng ulo. Ayon naman sa Harvard Health, ang doom scrolling ay nagpapataas ng fight or flight hormones tulad ng cortisol at adrenaline na nakakapagpabigat ng isip at katawan. Nakakaapekto ito sa iyong mood, tulog at maging sa mental at physical health mo. At kapag naman puro memes at random na content ang pinapanood mo ng sunod-sunod hanggang sa mawalan ka na ng gana na mag-isip at gumawa ng iba pang gawain, ang tawag naman dyan ay brain rot. Sa Gen Z at tinatawag na internet culture, ang brain rot ay overconsumption o sobrang tagal na panonood ng paulit-ulit, mababaw, magulo o walang saysay na content online hanggang sa parang manhid na ang utak mo. Kapag nasobrahan, syempre, nakakasama. Nawawalan ka na ng focus, nawawala ang motivation, hirap mag-isip ng malalim, parang lutang o foggy ang utak. Masaya sa simula, pero kapag sobra, napapagod ang isip mo. Nahihirapang mag-concentrate at parang lutang. Mas delikado pa ito sa mga bata dahil ang utak nila ay nasa proseso pa ng pag-develop. Kaya mas malakas ang epekto ng doom scrolling at brain rot sa kanila. Maaaring makaapekto sa pag-aaral, pag-iisip at pakikitungo sa iba. Ang higit sa 4 na oras ng screen time araw-araw sa mga kabataan ay konektado sa 35 to 88% na mas mataas na posibilidad ng depresyon, anxiety at stress. Base ito sa isang malawakang pag-aaral sa Brazil. Kaya, maging balanse. Magpahinga sa screen, magbasa, makipagkwentuhan, magdasal, maging present lagi. Alagaan ang iyong isipan. Kung anong itinatanim sa isipan mo, yun ang lalago.
Russian President Vladimir Putin brushed off the new U.S. sanctions as serious but manageable, saying they will not significantly impact Russia's economy. But U.S. President Donald Trump says he's glad Putin feels that way. More on this from Joy Tabanao.
Putin unbothered yet again with sanctions imposed against Russia. Speaking in Moscow, Russian President Vladimir Putin addressed Washington's latest sanctions targeting Russia's two biggest oil producers, Rosneft and Lukoil. Putin described the sanctions as an unfriendly act that could harm improving ties between Moscow and Washington. The measures mark the first major penalties imposed in Moscow since the U.S. President Donald Trump's return to office. Still, for the Russian president, the sanctions imposed were manageable.
Теперь, что касается новых санкций. Во-первых, ничего нового здесь нет. Да, они для нас носят серьезный, конечно, характер, это понятно. Останавливаться. Конечно, такими действиями администрация США наносит ущерб российско-американским отношениям.
In response, Trump told reporters at the White House he's glad Putin feels that way, but hinted that the real effects would take time to see.
Good. I'm glad he feels that way. That's good. I'll let you know about it in 6 months from now. Okay, let's see how it all works out.
Trump initially sought to rebuild ties with Russia, but has grown frustrated with Putin's refusal to agree to a ceasefire in Ukraine. He postponed a planned summit with a Russian leader in Budapest after months of stalled peace talks. Meanwhile, Putin admitted that it would have been a mistake to approach the summit without necessary preparations. Both Moscow and Washington suggest that the meeting between the two leaders is not completely off the table. Despite tensions, Putin said Russia remains open to dialogue.
Что можно сказать? Диалог всегда лучше, чем какая-то конфронтация, чем какие-то споры или.
Joy Manao, your citizen correspondent reporting for Newsline World.
Russian President Vladimir Putin has mocked a new round of European Union sanctions that include a ban on exporting toilets and plumbing fixtures to Russia, warning the bloc that it will cost them dearly. Putin took aim at the EU restrictions under the latest sanctions package, which specifically lists bidets, sinks, toilets, and other plumbing fixtures.
То, что отменили приобретение наших унитазов, это им дорого обойдется. Они им, в общем-то, мне кажется, были бы нужны в сегодняшней ситуации. А если они дальше будут продолжать такую же политику в отношении Российской Федерации.
The unusual restriction appears in the EU's latest sanctions package, the 19th since the start of the Ukraine war, which was approved Wednesday and also covers Russian energy, third country banks, and cryptocurrency providers. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is calling the latest Western sanctions on Russia not a bad result, following a European Council meeting in Brussels, though he lamented the absence of Tomahawk missiles in the new support package. Franco Baranda has more.
At press conference in Brussels on Thursday, Zelensky said the newest wave of international measures showed unity against Moscow, pointing to the European Union's 19th sanctions package, which targets Russian energy, banks, crypto providers, and toilets. Washington also imposed sanctions on Russian oil giants Rosneft and Lukoil. Not bad, says Zelensky, but he appears to lament the lack of tomahawks.
What can I say? And we'll not go to details. So the result of this meeting, we have sanctions on Russian energy. We don't have meeting in Hungary without Ukraine. And we have not yet tomahawks. That's it. This is the result. I think not bad. We will see. I don't know really. Each day brings something. I don't know. Maybe tomorrow. I don't know. We will have tomahawks. I don't know.
Russian President Vladimir Putin warned that any Ukrainian strike using US-made Tomahawk missiles would provoke a very serious, if not overwhelming, response. He also urged the Tomahawks would be imposed to use without US military personnel, and that would seriously harm any chance for peace. Trump earlier clarified that the US would not train Ukrainian troops to operate the long-range missiles, which can reach targets up to 2,500 kilometers away, citing the risk of escalation. Meanwhile, Zelensky also accused China of helping Russia because President Xi Jinping refused to sell weapons to Ukraine during their phone talk.
But I know one thing. China helps Russia, doesn't help Ukraine, and not interested in our victory and in Russia losing, to my mind. And it's not only my mind. They're not interested in unity between USA and Europe, and they're not interested in weak Russia. And that's why I think that they help Russia.
For God and my beloved country, the Philippines, this has been Franco Baranda, SMNI News.
Changpeng Zhao, founder of Binance, receives pardon just months after he was sentenced to prison for violating money laundering laws. Also known as CZ, Zhao was sentenced to 4 months in April 2024 after pleading guilty to charges stemming from a Justice Department investigation into Binance's role in helping users evade U.S. sanctions. The company itself also admitted guilt and was ordered to pay a $4.3 billion fine, one of the largest corporate penalties in U.S. history. U.S. President Donald Trump granted the pardon. The White House defended Trump's decision, calling the prosecution under the Biden administration part of a war on cryptocurrency, and that Trump's move was meant to correct an overreach of the previous administration. Since returning to office, Trump has promised a friendlier stance toward digital assets, proposing a national cryptocurrency reserve and easing rules on crypto-based retirement benefits. Meanwhile, Binance called the pardon incredible news. Zhao stepped down as Binance CEO in 2023, but remains one of the most influential figures in global crypto. From unfiltered confidence to unexpected transformations and a blockbuster farewell, we've got your showbiz fix today. Amy Schumer keeps it real, Jason Momoa goes bald for laughs, and Stranger Things takes its final bow on the big screen. Here's Sigrid Castañeda for our showbiz news.
Comedian Amy Schumer is showing off her confidence and her sense of humor in her latest social media post. The 44-year-old train wreck star took to Instagram to share a bathroom mirror selfie, proudly flaunting her toned midsection. Her caption, "No filter, no filler, no clean mirror, classic Amy." Her fans says she's never looked better. Just this month, Schumer also turned heads in Las Vegas, rocking a short black Miu Miu dress during a girls' night out. But behind the glam, Amy's been honest about her health journey. Earlier this year, she opened up about trying the diabetes drug Ozempic, saying the side effects left her bedridden and struggling to keep up with her young son Gene. Through it all, Amy Schumer stays real, reminding fans that confidence isn't about perfection, but about keeping it authentic and unfiltered. Jason Momoa's latest transformation has fans doing a double take. The Game of Thrones alum, known for his signature long locks and rugged style, debuted a shocking new look in Chime's Bank Smarter this season holiday campaign, trading his trademark mane for a bald head. In the light-hearted ad, the 46-year-old actor takes on multiple over-the-top personas, including a balding bed salesman sporting long copper hair on the sides, wire-framed glasses, and a gray wool suit while holding a clipboard in a mattress store. Of course, this isn't the first time Momoa has dramatically switched up his look. Earlier this year, he shocked fans once again by shaving off his beard for the first time in 6 years to reprise his role as Duncan Idaho in upcoming Dune sequel. From Hollywood hero to bald mattress salesman, one thing's for sure, Jason Momoa can pull off just about any look. And fans of Stranger Things, get ready to head back to Hawkins one last time, and this time it's going to be big screen big. Netflix has confirmed that the 2-hour series finale titled The Right Side Up will premiere not only on the platform but also in more than 350 movie theaters across the US this December 31st, running through New Year's Day 2026. It's a first for Netflix. The streaming giant has never released an original series episode in theaters before. The full list of participating cinemas will be announced closer to the date. Earlier this year, in a Variety cover story, creators Matt and Ross Tuffer hinted they wanted a big screen standoff for the hit series. At first, Netflix execs weren't on board, but after fans took to social media demanding a theatrical finale, the company gave in. And now it's official. Stranger Things will end with a cinematic bang. Expect a thrilling farewell filled with nostalgia, monsters, and maybe even a few tears as we say goodbye to the Upside Down and welcome 2026 in true blockbuster style. This is Sigrid Castaneda, your citizen correspondent, bringing you the latest showbiz.
When we come back, in Peru, youth movements condemn police impunity after the killing of activist Eduardo Ruiz Saenz during protests in Lima. And from local officials to quake survivors, gratitude is pouring in for SMNI Foundation Inc. in Davao Oriental. The earthquake relief efforts have brought sacks of rice, buckets filled with relief goods, gallons of drinking water, and hope to families in need. Newsline World will be back after the break.
Isang pindot lang, pwede kang maka-jackpot. Mukhang masaya at easy money lang. Sa murang halaga, pwede ka na tumaya sa online gambling at e-casino apps. Mayroong sabong, slot machines, mahjong, poker at iba pa. Kailangan mo lang ng smartphone, e-wallet at internet. Pero ang aliw na ito, unti-unting nagiging bitag para sa mga Pilipino. Lalo na kung ang paborito mong artista o influencer ang mukha ng app. Mas madaling makaengganyo, diba? Parang safe naman kasi may kilalang mukha. Pero sa likod ng ngiti, sugal pa rin ang itinutulak. At syempre, mas madali ring itago ang pagkalulong sa bisyong ito. Walang pisikal na kasino o pasugalan, walang kaharap, walang accountability, kaya't mas lumalala ang adiksyon. Dagdag pa rito, maraming online gambling apps at walang regulasyon. Sa likod ng mga makukulay na interface at papremyo, nakatago ang problemang bumabalot ngayon sa bansa. Ang pagkalulong ng maraming Pilipino sa online gambling. Pwede maglaro kahit saan, kahit kailan, kahit sino, bata man o matanda, pwedeng malulong. Ayon sa mga eksperto, ang pagkakalulong sa online gambling ay nagdudulot ng matinding stress at anxiety, pagkakabaon sa utang, pagkawasak ng pamilya, pagkawala ng tiwala sa sarili. At tulad ng ibang bisyo, may mga senyales ito tulad ng hindi makapagpigil kahit walang pera, palihim na tumataya, pagpapabaya sa trabaho, pamilya o sarili. Sa bawat taya, may mga taong tunay na kumikita, mga malalaking negosyante at investors na negosyo ang bisyo ng masa. Para sa kanila, perang pumapasok lang ito. Pero para sa ordinaryong Pilipino, kabuhayan at relasyon ang nauubos. At ang masakit, tila matagal itong nahayaan. Hindi ito naging prioridad ng mga nakaupo sa taas hanggang sa sobrang lumala at halos naapektuhan na ang buong komunidad. Ngayon, sa dami ng nalulung at sa laki ng pinsalang naidulot, sa kapalalong umugong ang mga panukalang batas para higpitan ng online gambling, gaya ng pagbabawal sa paggamit ng e-wallets para tumaya paghihila, pagtaas ng minimum bet, mas mahigpit na identity verification, pagblock ng mga illegal na gambling sites, at bawasan o ipagbawal ang mga ads na target ang kabataan. Maaari itong magmukhang laro lang, pero sa katotohanan, isa itong sugal sa kinabukasan. Ang kita na dapat sa mga pangunahing pangangailangan o ipon na uubos sa sugal. At sa mundo ng online gambling, mas madali kang matalo kaysa manalo. Huwag hayaang sugal ang magdikta sa iyong buhay. Isang paalala mula sa SMNI.
Children will grow up and bring the joy, the love, the peace, and compassion to the whole world. We only have one planet. We only have one Earth. And I hope that this new generation of children that we have reached out will become millions and billions and bring peace on Earth. Bring peace to humanity.
Migrants and activists in Ciudad Juarez, Chihuahua expressed frustration after Washington announced a $5,000 fine for those crossing the United States border illegally, a move many see as another barrier in an already dangerous journey. The U.S.-Mexico border wall is now under heavy surveillance by Border Patrol agents and military vehicles. At the El Buen Samaritano shelter in Juarez, migrants discussed the impact of the new penalty, while the shelter's director warned that fear-based measures will not stop migration.
Cada vez les están poniendo más obstáculos a las personas que de alguna forma cruzan irregularmente. Entonces, cada vez las personas la van a pensar más porque se van a encontrar con más situaciones complicadas. Ahora, esta situación de esta multa.
Administration imposed the fine on the 15th of October, along with stricter immigration measures and renewed deportation efforts as part of its bid to curb illegal border crossings. Despite the financial penalty, shelter workers say many migrants will still risk crossing, driven by poverty and the hope of a better future. The Philippine Airlines is ramping up its international operations this December, adding more flights to Australia, Japan, and other key destinations to meet the surge in holiday travel demand and ensure smoother journeys for passengers. This story from Carla Villana.
As the Christmas season approaches, the Philippines flag carrier is reinforcing its flight network with increased frequencies and larger aircraft across several routes. Philippine Airlines President Richard Nuttall said the expansion reflects the airline's commitment to provide greater connectivity and the signature warmth of Filipino hospitality during one of the busiest travel periods of the year. For the Australia market, PAL will double its Manila-Perth flights from 3 to 6 weekly services between mid-December 2025 and mid-January 2026. The Manila-Melbourne route will also shift from 5 times a week to daily operations. To accommodate more passengers, select Manila-Brisbane flights will use the tri-class Airbus A330 wide-body aircraft, while Melbourne services will also be upgraded to the larger A330-300. Nuttall said that as the country's flag carrier, Philippine Airlines remains committed to enhancing its network, meeting strong travel demand and connecting more passengers to key destinations during the peak travel period. He added that this commitment goes beyond operations, emphasizing world-class excellence, genuine care, and the signature warmth of Filipino hospitality in every journey. Beyond Australia, PAL is boosting frequencies across other major routes. Beginning October 26, Manila-Da Nang flights will operate daily, up from 3 times weekly, while Manila-Busan services will increase from 7 to 11 per week until March 2026. Holiday travelers to Japan can look forward to more options as well. PAL will resume its seasonal non-stop Manila-Sapporo flights starting November 24, offering 3 weekly services until March 27. Extra flights are also being added to Narita, Osaka, and Nagoya between mid-December and early January to accommodate the year-end rush. In the Visayas, PAL is enhancing connectivity through Cebu, adding special flights to Osaka, Narita, and Guam. The new Cebu-Guam route, launching December 16 with 3 weekly flights, underscores the airline's efforts to strengthen regional access and cater to Filipino communities abroad. PAL's expansion also extends to North America, where Manila-Seattle flights will increase from 3 to 5 weekly beginning November 25. This complements the carrier's existing U.S. network, which includes daily flights to San Francisco and Guam, twice daily service to Los Angeles, 3 weekly flights to New York, and 5 to Honolulu. Through these strategic adjustments, Philippine Airlines aims to offer travelers more choices, improved connectivity, and an elevated travel experience that reflects the best of Filipino service and global standards. For God in my beloved Philippines, Carla Abellana, SMNI News.
The Davao Oriental provincial government has expressed its gratitude for the successful relief efforts conducted by the SMNI Foundation Inc. for the victims of the earthquake in their province. MJ Mondehar has the details.
The Davao Oriental provincial government extended its heartfelt gratitude to SMNI Foundation Incorporated following the 2-day relief efforts for the victims of the recent earthquake in the area. In response, SMNI Foundation Incorporated visited 2 villages in the municipality of Manay to distribute sacks of rice, gallons of drinking water, and buckets filled with food items. Davao Oriental Governor Nelson Deanghirang expressed his gratitude in an interview with SMNI News.
Una sa lahat, nais kong magpasalamat kay Pastor Kibuloy sa kanyang walang sangwang pagtulong sa mga nangangailangan, hindi lang sa mga nasalanta ng kalamidad, at sa kanyang mga membro. Maraming salamat po sa inyo at sana'y patuloy ang patnubay ng ating Panginoong Diyos sa inyo, Pastor Kibuloy, at 10 ng inyong mga kasamahan.
Governor Deanghirang said the relief efforts has given great hope to his constituents, along with his call for unity among all Filipinos. Meanwhile, during one of the relief operations of SMNI Foundation Incorporated in Davao Oriental, we witnessed a grateful beneficiary, Juni Castro, who was seen walking beside his water buffalo, carrying sacks of relief goods on his way home to Purok 9 Manay. Castro shared that their home is still a long walk from the area and that he still needs to cross a creek to reach his family.
Yeah, sa pamumuli. Tara, sabay tayo. Sa pamumuli. Yun siya, Purok 9. Ngayon pa? Ngayon pa. Tapos, dala-dala na mo na yung hinawa. Isa ka, kakong tabang na sa imo haya.
Sige, tabangin mo dito. Huwag mo gamha na maabot nyo ng grasya. Salamat.
Dili lang basta grasya.
Para
good. Karga ko ni mo, 2 ka. Pila man mo nadawat?
Isa. Akong bayaw ng isa.
Buha ka, set nga, hinabang.
Baka balay.
Nya, kanang tabang, pila ka simana naman na makulong.
Kabulan. Upata kong bata.
For 2 consecutive days, the SMNI Foundation Incorporated tirelessly carried out relief operations across the quake-hit areas of Davao Oriental, reaching even the most remote communities. Through the generosity of its sponsors and volunteers, hundreds of families received food packs, clean drinking water, and essential supplies, bringing not just aid, but hope and comfort to those who need it most. Truly, in times of hardship, the SMNI Foundation continues to stand as a symbol of compassion and unity for the Filipino people. Reporting for Newsline World, this has been MJ Mondehan, SMNI News.
Would like to thank all volunteers and generous sponsors who supported its relief efforts for the earthquake victims in Davao Oriental. Those who wish to help the foundation's ongoing mission may send their donations via GCash to 0995-284-9117 or 0917-714-1820. And before we end, may you be inspired with the words of the sun. In everything you want to do, if you are committed, if you are consistent, you will succeed. And for our Christmas countdown, only 62 days to go before Christmas. And that's all for this edition of Newsline World. For God and my beloved country, the Philippines, I'm Jayne Codnita. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.
This is SMNI News Channel. Truth that matters.